Before we start today, I have to tell you about State Farm agent Bryant. A lot of our listeners have gone to him for all their insurance needs, and he's been very helpful in getting them the coverage they deserve. But no games with Bryant. He's just here to help and make sure you feel safe. So if you have insurance needs and you haven't called him yet, what are you waiting for? Dial up the number, 630-796-2662. That's 630-796-2662. Or find him online at bryantismyagent.com. That's bryantismyagent.com. And make sure to mention Sports Talk Chicago. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Sports Talk Chicago. Here with Jon Zaghloul, and we are back and ready for today's special guest. He's the host of Kap and JHood on ESPN 1000 and the Football Aftershow on NBC Sports Chicago. Please welcome David Kaplan to the program. Kap, it's great to have you on. How are you?
Jon, thanks for having me, man. Good to be with you.
So, Kap, what's your take on the Cubs season first off?
Well, I think when you build a rotation of Kyle Hendricks at the top and Adbert Alzolay, and then it's Arrieta, Trevor Williams, Zach Davies, Alec Mills, you already know going into the season you're not trying to win. So this didn't surprise me. They got off to a poor start. They had a good month of May, and, I kept saying, go get Max Scherzer or one of these starters that might be available, but don't do it yet. Let's let this thing play out and see where we're at. And letting it play out, they're under 500, and it's not a good enough team. I know people are disappointed, but it's kind of what we expected. I had the Chicago Cubs, I think 82-80. I think Fangraphs projections had them 78 wins, and they're probably going to be closer because I think there's a big sale coming. So, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Who do you expect to go in that sale?
I don't see Kris Bryant still here. I keep hearing it's, close to getting done, that Rizzo won't be here. Obviously, Craig Kimbrell, I would think, won't be here. Maybe Andrew Chafin, maybe Ryan Tepera. So, yeah, they're going to try and Buster only says Javi Baez is in play. So, look, if you can get good players back that will impact winning on the next Cubs run, there's nobody short of Wilson Contreras who I would build around and keep him as my catcher. There's really nobody that I wouldn't trade.
Is that disheartening to you as a Cubs guy to see this whole core kind of go away?
No, because they never got back to the World Series. That team never reached that height again. They went to 5 out of 6 years to the playoffs. They made some poor decisions in who they drafted, poor decisions in player development, poor decisions in some deals that they made, whether that's signing Jason Hayward for 184 or, trading for Jose Quintana when you gave up a ton. So, yeah, no, that it does not. What I find disheartening is that a team with those types of revenues is in a position they've got to rebuild for the second time in 8 years. That's disheartening.
Who's to blame, in your opinion? Are multiple people to blame? Is there someone specific that you pin it on?
I don't think you can pin it on anyone. I mean, players didn't perform at the level that we were assuming they would coming out of a World Series championship in 2016. Their offense, their former team president said, was broken. Our offense is broken after 2018, and they did nothing to fix it. So, you can change all the hitting coaches you want. It's on the players. So, yeah, there's just a number of factors that is the reason that the Cubs struggled.
How many World Series do you think they should have won with this talent and this roster?
Well, to say they should have won, I mean, that's look, to win, you got to be incredibly lucky. You got to get great breaks. So to say they should have won more, those guys didn't perform. So maybe 2016 was truly the outlier, and what we saw for the 5 years after, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, maybe that's who they really are, and we just caught lightning in a bottle in 2016. So I can't tell you they should have won anymore.
When do you see them being competitive again?
What is management's appetite to spend big money to bring in some star quality players, and then how far away are the prospects you either have or will acquire in multiple deadline deals to get those guys to the big leagues? That's really how I answer that question. Ed Howard, who they drafted in the first round in 2020, Ed Howard's not ready to be the everyday shortstop. Brennan Davis, I don't think is far away, but I don't think he's ready to be the everyday right fielder, left fielder, center fielder, wherever you want to put him. So you've got a number of guys that have to develop, a number you've got to acquire, and then are you going to go out and if you trade Javi Baez, who's your shortstop next year? Are you going to spend the money to get Trevor Story? That's an upgrade. Are you going to spend the money to get 2 number 1 type starters? That's really expensive. So there's a number of things that have to fall right before I can answer that. I would hope they're contending by 2024, 2023 at least be a solid team, but I don't have great expectation for next year.
Do you trust them in at least managing the rebuild and getting back to a point where they were in 2016?
Sure, I trust them because it's basically, other than Theo, the same management team. And I think Jed is a very smart guy and has a great track record of success. I don't hold David Ross, incredibly culpable for this. I know everyone likes to point at the manager always, but you gave him a rotation that wasn't good enough to win with, and you have a team that's not good enough to win with. So I think David's done all he could possibly do. It's just, this is a process. It's going to take time to, whether you want to call it a retool, a rebuild, whatever it is, it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
David Kaplan here on Sports Talk Chicago. Cap, let's talk Bears now. Is Justin Fields the savior for this team?
He better be down the road. If you're talking about is he the savior for this year, they don't want to see him on the field if they can help it. They want him to develop. That's all they want. Justin Fields to develop. And at the end of this season, when 2021 season closes, the question is, was he already pushed into play some point this coming season? I don't care what their record is. Again, I don't want them to go 0-17, but the question is, at the end of the year, have you done all you can to make sure Justin Fields is ready for a 8 to 10 year run as the face of your franchise and one of the top 10 quarterbacks in football? Because if you haven't, then what are we doing here? So I don't know if he's the savior this year. He should be the savior down the road.
You like the idea of sitting him a couple of games or even sitting him all year to give him time to develop?
Yeah, I don't have a problem if they feel the best thing for him is to sit. I'm okay with it. If they feel he should play from day one, I'm going to trust that Matt Nagy knows what he's doing, that Ryan Pace and these guys have an idea of how they're going to develop this guy. And then, because if I want to micromanage their process, I wasn't an NFL coach. I never played in the NFL. I'm not an NFL scout. They feel like it worked at Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years before he played. You can go back to Brett Favre sitting in Atlanta before he came to Green Bay. There's a lot of guys that also shown you they can play from day one. So I'm going to trust their process. All I care about is what is the best thing for the future of the Bears. I'm not hell-bent on what they've got to do this year.
Let me ask you this. What makes him the best moment in Chicago sports when he hasn't played yet? Why do you say that?
I said that because if you really think about it, the Cubs are going in the wrong direction, starting a rebuild. The White Sox haven't won anything yet. Now, I think they're by far the hottest franchise in our town. The Bulls are in the midst of a rebuild. The Blackhawks haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. So that comment that I made was, what's the best moment Chicago sports since the Cubs won the World Series? Is it the Bears in 2018? Well, they got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, and the double doink is something that will live on in infamy here. So name me something that, oh my goodness, the city is just on fire because of. It's the drafting of Justin Fields.
What's his potential to you? What have you seen from him that makes you excited about him?
Well, I watched him play basically every game because I'm an Ohio State fan. I think that this is a guy with a huge upside. I don't think the floor is incredibly low. So if he doesn't play at the all-pro level we all hope he plays, I don't think he's going to be horrible either. I think they've got a real solid football player with the chance to be a really, really outstanding player. So that's what I really like about this kid.
Did this pick extend the time frame for Matt Nagy as coach?
It should. I mean, what are you going to do? Bring this kid in, have him learn a complex offense, have him develop a relationship with Matt Nagy and his staff, and then because you went 7-10 this year, we're going to change coaches and change GMs and change philosophies. And that's what bad organizations do. If you're going to draft this kid, you got to let these guys develop him.
When should a playoff appearance be expected for the Bears?
Well, there's no reason they can't make the playoffs this year.
Really?
Now, again, I can't tell you who's going to be at quarterback for that, but there's enough talent on that team. You've got a pretty solid offensive line now. I'm not telling you it's the best in football. You got a really good running back. You got weapons to throw the ball to, from Allen Robinson to Darnell Mooney to Cole Kmet to Marquise Goodwin. And then you got a defense that's getting a coordinator now that's aligned with what Vic Fangio did here. So those guys like playing that style. Sean Desai plays that style. And there's no reason that this team can't win 10 football games and get to the playoffs.
David Kaplan, still here on Sports Talk Chicago. Cap, a few more questions before we finish up. First off, how'd you get locked out of your home?
So we have 3 dogs. Stanley is a rescue dog from the streets of Alabama when there was flooding and a hurricane. He got shipped up to a rescue here, and he's awesome. He's a black lab mix. And Stanley, just like our other 2 dogs, knows how good he's got it. Sleeps in our bed. Yoshi and Sparky are my other 2. A mutt, Yoshi, and Sparky is a purebred Siberian Husky. Well, Stanley has fear of missing out. If I leave for work, he'll give me a little kiss, and off I go. If my wife leaves for work, same deal. If we walk out together, he feels like he's being left behind, so he tries to get out the door with us. We were leaving to go to the farmer's market a week ago Saturday, and he tried to dart out. So we said, all right, let's sneak out the living room door. So we kind of, if you saw the layout of my house, there's an area where he can't get to, and we darted out the front door. My wife locked the handle behind us and went, uh-oh, I don't have my keys, and realized that the door from the house to the garage was double locked from the night before. No keys to get in.
Who let you back in?
Turned out that a friend of my wife's who comes up by and walks our dogs when my wife has a meeting at work, so she can't run home to let the dogs out. She had an extra key. We called her, and our friend Dana said, oh, I'm actually in your area. Just stop by here, and I'll have the key. And we got the key, and we got in. So we were very lucky.
And, Cap, before we finish up today, last question. What's Walk is One, and how are you helping out again this year?
So Walk is One is something that I did last September. I called it a unity walk, and I wear a half Cubs, half Sox jersey. And in this very divided world we live in, I said, I'm going to use sports to raise money for an amazing cause called Bernie's Book Bank. Bernie's Book Bank serves underserved boys and girls in the Chicago area that don't have Wi-Fi, don't have a computer. And especially in a pandemic, they were struggling to get their education and quality study and reading materials. And so I raised $100,000 for Bernie's Book Bank. We're trying to do more than that this year. Last year, I walked home from work 29 miles. This year, I think it's a 24.7-mile walk. And I'm going to start at guaranteed rate. I'm going to walk to Soldier Field, to UIC, to DePaul's Wintrust Arena. From there, go up to Wrigley to Loyola to Northwestern. So we'll represent all the teams, Red Stars and the Chicago Sky, and all 5 of our men's professional teams, all the college teams, and try and raise as much money as we can for these kids that have it pretty tough at times.
Well, Cap, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to have you on, and obviously best wishes with the walk and best wishes with your programs. You do a great job. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, man. Have a great day, all right?
Thank you.